Okay, 10 o'clock, call the meeting to order. Remind the members to please speak into your microphone. We're having some trouble with the transcription when you're not talking. Microphone. The little red light should light up when you're doing it right. Salem has suffered some losses in the past month. His mother and mother-in-law, as well as a longtime supervisor and member of the board here, Bruce Ferguson. I think in lieu of a prayer, we just have a moment of silence for Salem. Thank you. Mr. Wilson.
Price. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. In the event required to evacuate the building, please move to the nearest exit. If anyone needs assistance, please ask. Once you're safely away from the building, from first responders, I would ask that you silence.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Hanky.
I am here.
Mrs. Fedler.
Here.
Mr. Tall.
Here.
Mr. Shaw.
Here.
Mr. Hall.
Here.
Mr. Fisher.
Here.
Mr. Baker.
Here.
Mr. Nolan. Mr. O'Brien.
Here.
Mr. Hahn.
Here.
Mr. Campbell.
Here.
Mr. Skelly.
Here.
Mr. Hogan.
Here.
Mr. Wilson.
Here.
Mrs. Clary.
Here.
Mr. Wang.
Here.
Mr. Rosell.
Here. Next on your agenda is a bunch of public hearings, but I can't start until 5 after. So let's jump down to the condensed minutes. The minutes of the November 15th meeting, I'll consider accepted as mailed unless there's any additions or corrections. Are there any additions or corrections? Seeing none. Mailed. Any communications?
For communications from Niagara County Legislature, we're in receipt of their resolution number 156 in support of New York State establishing an ammo purchase card. That's all we have for communications.
Thank you. I hope we'll take that up in public safety, as a matter of fact. Committee reports, the audit committee.
Chairman, I'd like to move the audit committee report to the full board for payment of the total of $7,307,713.71.
Well, then Mr. Rosell, second. Fedler, Tall, Hall, Fisher, Baker, O'Brien, Hahn, Clary, and Wang. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Well. Oh, yeah, no, I'm sorry. Yes, the tax report.
Federal tax report.
Supervisor Campbell, second. Fedler. Tall. Wilson, Clary, and Rosell. Discussion. You don't want to discuss it for another 30?
Give us an update on what one, is everyone ready or?
All those in favor? Oh, you want to discuss?
Oh,
No.
we could vote first.
Yeah. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Did you have a comment?
Well, yeah, I know some of the towns are gonna be ready today and I didn't know if you wanted to announce.
I don't know who those are. But check before you go. I guarantee it won't be Argo. We'll never get to be first.
I think yours were done first.
I think mine were done dead last.
Scheduled, it didn't go in order this time. It was all mixed up. Usually it'll start either Whitehall and go backwards or forward and dial and go that way. She mixed it up totally this time.
Like whoever got their stuff in first.
Yeah.
Argo from being first, that's all. Okay, we'll move on to the public hearings. I have a public hearing for local law F of 2024. If the clerk can read the notice, please.
Public hearing concerning introductory local law F of 2024. Notice is hereby given that the Washington County Board of Supervisors will hold a public hearing in the Supervisors Chambers, Washington County Office Building B, Fort Edward, New York, on December 20th, 2024 at 10:05 to consider the adoption of proposed introductory local law F of 2024, amending local law 4 of 1994 as amended by local law 7 of 2023, establishing a schedule of charges for Washington County Sewer District Number 1 for the discharge of sewage into the Washington County Sewer District Number 1 sewerage system and all sewers tributary thereto. Local Law 4 of 1994, as amended by Local Law Number 7 of 2023, is hereby further amended, increasing the penalty on all unpaid charges from 5% to 12% as follows. All persons interested in the subject matter of the proposed introductory local law will be heard at that time and place concerning the same by order of the Board of Supervisors dated November 21st, 2024.
Thank you. Now I'll declare the public hearing open at 10:06. Is there anyone who wishes to be heard on local law F? Thought that's why you were all here. Anybody want to comment on local law F? Is there any public comment on local law F? Having called for comment 3 times and heard none, I'll declare the public hearing closed at on local law G. Clerk will read the notice.
Public hearing concerning introductory local law G of 2024. Notice is hereby given that the Washington County Board of Supervisors will hold a public hearing in the Supervisors Chambers, Washington County Office Building B, Fort Edward, New York, on December 20th, 2024, at 10:05 a.m. to consider the adoption of proposed introductory local law G of 2024, a local law amending local law 3 of 1989 as amended by local law 4 of 1989, as amended by local law 7 of 2000 and subsequent amendments, establishing a schedule of charges for the discharge of sewage, industrial waste, or other waste into the Washington County Sewer District Number 2 sewerage system and all sewers tributary thereto. Local law 3 of 1989 is amended by local law 4 of 1989, is amended by local law 7 of 2000 and its subsequent amendments, is hereby further amended, increasing the penalty on all unpaid charges from 5% to 12%. By order of the Board of Supervisors dated November 21st, 2024.
Thank you. I'll declare the public hearing on local law G of 2024 to be opened at 10:07. Is there anyone who wishes to comment on local law G? Is there any public comment on local law G? Does anyone in this vast audience wish to speak on local law G? Having called for comment 3 times and heard none, I will declare the public hearing closed at 10:07. Clerk would read the notice for introductory local law H, please.
Introductory local law H of 2024. Notice is hereby given that the Washington County Board of Supervisors will hold a public hearing in the Supervisors Chambers, Washington County Office Building B, Fort Edward, New York, on December 20th, 2024 at 10:05 a.m. to consider the adoption of proposed introductory local law H of 2024 concerning establishing a rate schedule of charges for the discharge of sewage into the Washington County Sewer District Number 1 sewerage system and all sewers tributary thereto for the fiscal year 2025. By order of the Board of Supervisors dated November 21st, 2024.
Thank you. I will declare the public hearing for local law H open at 10:08. Is there anyone who wishes to comment on local law H? Any public comment on local law H of 2024? Is there anyone who cares about local law H of 2024? Having called public comment 3 times and heard none, I'll declare the public hearing closed at 10:09.
Public hearing concerning introductory local law I of 2024. Notice is hereby given that the Washington County Board of Supervisors will hold a public hearing in the Supervisors Chambers, Washington County Office Building B, Fort Edward, New York, on December 20th, 2024 at 10:05 a.m. to consider the adoption of proposed introductory local law I of 2024 concerning establishing a rate schedule of charges for the discharge of sewage into the Washington County Sewer District Number 2 sewerage system and all sewers tributary thereto for the fiscal year 2025. By order of the Board of Supervisors dated November 21st, 2024.
Thank you. I'll declare the public excuse me, public hearing open for local law I at 10:09. Is there any public comment on local law I? Is there any public comment on local law I? Is there any public comment on local law I? Having called for public comment 3 times and heard none, I'll declare the public hearing closed at 10:10 and move on to J.
Public hearing concerning introductory local law J of 2024. Notice is hereby given that the Washington County Board of Supervisors will hold a public hearing in the Supervisors Chambers, Washington County Office Building B, Fort Edward, New York, on December 20th, 2024, at 10:05 a.m. to consider the adoption of proposed introductory local law J of 2024 concerning the salaries of the county administrator, county attorney, commissioner of social services, superintendent of public works, sheriff, county clerk, county treasurer, director of real property tax services, coroners, election commissioners, and personnel officer for calendar year 2025. By order of the Board of Supervisors dated November 21st, 2024.
I'll declare the public hearing on local law J open at 10:10. Is there any public comment on local law J? Is there any public comment on local law J? Is there anyone in the audience that wants to comment on local law J? Call for public comment and heard none 3 times. Call for public comment 3 times. Get it right on the tape, Bob. And heard none. I will declare the public hearing closed at 11. Okay. Brings the supervisor's privilege of the floor. Let's start this side. John, you got any? Mr. Wang. Great. Mr. Wilson. Mr. Hogan. How this works, come to this mic, talk into the mic, identify yourself. And when you start talking, I hit the button, and at 5 minutes, we hook you off, okay?
My name is Alicia Altizio. I'm a caseworker with Washington County Office for the Aging. Dear distinguished members of the board, and gratitude to my supervisor, Mr. Dana Hogan, for the opportunity to speak before you today. This is an important and timely topic regarding the recent decision through our personnel department to add vacation time to non-union positions in this workforce, resulting in a benefit incongruently awarded to the exclusion of those individuals part of the CSEA collective bargaining unit active here at Washington County. It should be noted that since April 2023 to present, 4 memorandums of agreement, MOAs, were reportedly generated by personnel to CSEA, and all were swiftly approved by the union, including one that agreed to provide 5 days of vacation time upon immediate hire to new employees. In comparison, this union's request was promptly turned down despite multiple efforts to keep the process as informal as possible. Perhaps offering an example would be helpful when speaking about this time differential. For context, when comparing the current CSEA versus updated non-union accrual chart, an employee reaching 20 years of service would be offered the same amount of vacation time as someone non-union with 10 years. Please ponder the messaging that is being delivered, both with those with seniority and as new hires. In addition, the disadvantaged group will need to wait until the end of the calendar year, December 2025, when the union contract is up, to be considered for the same benefit that is being delivered beginning January 2025. This results in many workers foregoing a year's worth of that benefit time offered to their colleagues, some of which work in the same office environment. Many workers have committed themselves to providing the best service to residents of Washington County, with many dedicated to providing this until retirement age. This is challenged in our world where many jobs have suffered from a continuous drop in retention. The county is no exception to that rule. Most often, those workers remaining have to adjust to their burgeoning workload to compensate when those situations arise, which causes frustration to those who have remained and a dramatic dip in morale. Those workers who have remained have been continuously reminded the steadfast reality of caps, both in steps, including financial incentives, as well as vacation time, until recent news of increased benefit time incited promise and energy to remain in this workforce. For instance, social services employees, many of which are union-based positions,
You have 1 minute.
are highly affected by the negative decision. Recently, the state of New York has recognized working adults and emphasized the importance of supporting those persons who continue to be employed and are responsible for caregiving for a family member. If polled, it may not be surprising to learn that many of this county's workforce is providing care for loved ones long before and after business hours. This increased benefit would help ease the burden of those people. Many of those seeking the same benefit are those workers providing significant service and dedication to all members of Washington County. Respectfully, we request that the benefit offered to those non-union positions be extended equitably and be awarded concurrently to all of the county's workforce, thereby delivering the message that all workers, regardless of their affiliation, are rewarded and valued for their continued dedication to Washington County. Thank you for your time and attention to this matter.
Hey, Ms. Rogan, anybody else? Mr. Skelly? Campbell?
No.
Oh, Mr. Chairman.
I had a couple of people contact me. Kirsten?
I should have put that in my email. I am from Argyle. So.
Okay, I know.
So let me first introduce myself. My name is Kristen Hutchins, and I have spent the last 24 years of my life being employed by Washington County. I started my career in WIC, where I worked almost 15 years before transferring over to the Department of Social Services. In my career here, I have spent my time helping the underprivileged families of this county with supportive and supplemental services. I recently learned of a new benefit being given to non-union positions and would like to know why this benefit was not extended to include all employees. In 2020, when the pandemic hit, several of us were invited to be on the Department Social Services Team A. It was a skeleton crew of about 6 people who had to make sure the needs for food, heat, and among other things were provided to our county residents. At first, I didn't want to do it because according to the TV, we were all going to die of COVID. But I was committed to helping the people of this county and committed to all of you. At some point, the board offered overtime pay for being on the team, and when that was swiftly taken away, we all still stayed on the team to take care of the needs of our residents and taxpayers, the same people that have voted you all into your positions. We swapped teams every 2 weeks, and I stayed on the team until all of my turns were completed, end of June, because I was committed to Washington County and our residents. After that, I was invited to be on the COVID shot scheduling team, which I was happy to serve on, as it put most of our senior citizen residents' minds at ease and being able to get access to the shots promptly. After that, I was invited to be on the ERAP program, which was Emergency Rental Arrears Program, which is where the Department of Social Services receives grant money and was trying to help the landlords recoup most of their back rent money, the very same landlords that pay taxes in this county. I'm now in the employment unit trying to help people find and maintain employment while helping them with any and all barriers they may have, including homelessness. It was very disheartening to learn that the union positions were not included in this new benefit of additional vacation time, as I believe that the union positions are the very backbone of this county very backbone of making this county run smoothly. I actually can't believe that we would be purposely excluded and may have to use this in bargaining a new contract when it was so freely given out to non-union positions that did not have to negotiate for it. And now I am learning that the union positions are being made to do just that. I would hope that you would all reconsider your decision to purposely leave out a certain group of people that are all employed here by you. To my knowledge, at least 5 memorandums of agreements have been made under the current contract, and I assure you the union would have been cooperative with this one had it been offered. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else that wanted privilege? And we'll move on to the introduction of resolutions. I need a motion to set aside the rules for resolutions 372 and 373 and have the clerk read the resolves only, starting with 372.
Move it, Mr. Chairman.
All second.
Second.
Fedler, Tall, Fisher, Hahn, Wilson. Discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 372 by Supervisor Campbell, title amend budget capital project number 113 Homeland Security Grants for FY 2024 award. Resolved that the county treasurer is hereby authorized to make the following budget amendment. Capital project number 113 Homeland Security Grants, increase appropriations and revenue, $68,285. Resolution number 373 by Supervisors Hall, Shaw, Skelly, Hogan, title to appoint election commissioner Republican. Resolved that Stacy Baker is hereby appointed as Commissioner of the Board of Elections Republican effective January 1, 2025 for a term expiring December 31st, 2028.
Thank you. I don't believe we need a recess. Let's move on to consideration of the resolution, please.
Resolution number 340 by Supervisors Wilson, Skelly, Fedler, Shaw, Fisher, Baker, Wang, Tall, title to urge the governor and the state legislature to consider the impacts to electrify highway department vehicles by adoption of the advanced clean truck rule.
Chairman, moving resolution 340.
Moved by Supervisor Wilson, second. Fedler, Tall, Hall, Fisher, Baker, Campbell, Skelly, Clary, and Wang, and Rozell. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 341 by Supervisor Hanky, title to set date of organizational meeting.
I'll move 341. Is there a second? Fedler, Tall, Hall, Fisher, O'Brien, Hahn, Campbell, Clary, and Rozell. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 342 by Supervisors Wilson, Skelly, Fedler, Shaw, Roselle, Fisher, Baker, Wang, Tall, title to adopt introductory local law F of 2024.
Chairman, moving resolution 342.
Moved by Supervisor Wilson, second. Fedler, Tall, Hall, Fisher, Baker, O'Brien, Clary, and Wang. Discussion. This is a roll call.
Mr. Hanky.
Yes.
Mrs. Fedler. Yes. Mr. Tall.
Yes.
Mr. Shaw.
Yes.
Mr. Hall.
Yes.
Mr. Fisher.
Yes.
Mr. Baker.
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
Mr. Hahn.
Yes.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
Mr. Skelly.
Yes.
Mr. Hogan.
Yes.
Mr. Wilson.
Yes.
Mrs. Clary. Yes. Mr. Wang.
Yes.
Mr. Rozell.
Yes.
The resolution is adopted, 4,291 yes, 399 absent. Resolution number 343 by Supervisors Wilson, Skelly, Fedler, Shaw, Roselle, Fisher, Baker, Wang, Tall, title to adopt introductory local law G of 2024.
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution 343.
Moved by Supervisor Wilson, excuse me, second. Fedler, Hall, Fisher, Baker, O'Brien, and Wang. Discussion. This is also a roll call.
Mr. Hanky.
Yes.
Mrs. Fedler. Yes. Mr. Tall. Mr. Shaw.
Yes.
Mr. Hall.
Yes.
Mr. Fisher.
Yes.
Mr. Baker.
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
Mr. Hahn.
Yes.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
Mr. Skelly.
Yes.
Mr. Hogan.
Yes.
Mr. Wilson.
Yes.
Mrs. Clary. Yes. Mr. Wang. And Mr. Rozell.
Yes.
The resolution is adopted, 4,291 yes, 399 absent. Resolution number 344 by Supervisors Wilson, Skelly, Fedler, Shaw, Roselle, Fisher, Baker, Wang, Tall, title to adopt introductory local law H.
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution 344.
Moved by Supervisor Wilson, second. Fedler, Tall, Hall, Fisher, Baker, O'Brien. Discussion. This is also a roll call. Sorry, we're gonna do a lot of these today, folks.
Mr. Hanky, Mrs. Fedler, Mr. Tall,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Hall,
Yes.
Mr. Fisher, Mr. Baker,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien,
Yes.
Mr. Hahn,
Yes.
Mr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mr. Skelly,
Yeah.
Mr. Hogan,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mrs. Clary, Mr. Wang,
Yes.
Mr. Rozell.
Yes.
The resolution is adopted, 4,291 yes, 399 absent. Resolution number 345 by Supervisors Wilson, Skelly, Fedler, Shaw, Roselle, Fisher, Baker, Wang, Tall, title to adopt introductory local law I of 2024.
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution 345.
Moved by Supervisor Wilson, second. Fedler, Tall, Hall, Fisher, Baker, O'Brien, and Wang. Discussion. This is another roll call.
Mr. Hanky.
Yes.
Mrs. Fedler.
Yes.
Mr. Tall.
Yes.
Mr. Shaw.
Yes.
Mr. Hall.
Yes.
Mr. Fisher.
Yes.
Mr. Baker.
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
Mr. Hahn. Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
Mr. Skelly.
Yes.
Mr. Hogan.
Yes.
Mr. Wilson.
Yes.
Mrs. Clary.
Yes.
Mr. Wang. Mr. Rozell. Resolution adopted, 4,291 yes, 399 absent. Resolution number 346 by Supervisor Hanky, title to reappoint member to the Washington County Soil and Water Conservation District Board.
Moving 346, there's second. Fedler, Tall, Hall, Fisher, O'Brien, Hahn, Skelly, and Wang. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 347 by Supervisors Nolan, Hall, Hogan, Wilson, Baker, Hahn, Tall, title to make appointments to the Professional Advisory Committee, Public Health.
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution number 347.
By Supervisor Hall, second. Fedler, Tall, Fisher, Baker, O'Brien, Hahn. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 348 by Supervisors Fedler, Wilson, Hogan, Nolan, Baker, Hahn, title to make appointments to the Washington County EMS Advisory Board.
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution number 348.
Supervisor Fedler, second. Hall, Fisher, Baker, O'Brien, Hahn. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 349 by Supervisors Nolan, Hall, Hogan, Wilson, Baker, Hahn, Tall, title to accept food pantry contract, Washington County Economic Opportunity Council, doing business as LEAP.
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution number 349.
By Supervisor Hall, second. Fedler, Tall, Fisher, Baker, O'Brien, Hahn. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 350 by Supervisors Clary, Fedler, Shaw, Skelly, Baker, Wang, title to set time and place for a public hearing on local solid waste management plan.
Chairman, moving resolution number 350.
Moved by Supervisor Clary, second. Fedler, Tall, Hall, Fisher, Baker, O'Brien, and Wang. Discussion. I have discussion. This is the most colossal waste of time that's been foisted upon this board in a long time, since we don't do any solid waste. Having a plan for people that we can't control is the height of absurdity. Under state mandate. Any further discussion? Oh,
So, Mr. Chairman,
Not clear?
are you recommending we vote no?
We can't vote no, it costs us more money.
Hey, I'm just
That's
trying to
what-
find
that's-
out what your recommendation.
That's the way the state mandates work. No, we've got to do this. It's a colossal waste of time and money.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 351 by Supervisors Campbell, Fedler, Shaw, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Roselle, Hall, Wilson, Fisher, Nolan, title to adopt introductory local law J of 2024.
Moving 351.
By Supervisor Campbell, second. Fedler, Tall, Hall, Fisher, O'Brien, and Clary. Discussion. This is a roll call.
Mr. Hanky.
Yes.
Mrs. Fedler.
Yes.
Mr. Tall.
Yes.
Mr. Shaw.
Yes.
Mr. Hall,
Yes.
Mr. Fisher,
Yes.
Mr. Baker,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien,
Yes.
Mr. Hahn,
Yes.
Mr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mr. Skelly,
Yes.
Mr. Hogan,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mrs. Clary,
Yes.
Mr. Wang, Mr. Rozell.
Yes.
The resolution is adopted, 4,291 yes, 399 absent. Resolution number 352 by Supervisors Hall, Campbell, Fedler, Skelly, Wilson, Nolan, title amend the staffing pattern, public health, children with special needs.
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution number 352.
Move by Supervisor Hall, second. Fedler, Tall, Fisher, O'Brien, Hahn, Campbell. Discussion. I thought this was very well thought out move on their part. Good job.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 353 by Supervisors Hall, Campbell, Fedler, Skelly, Wilson, Nolan, title amend staffing pattern, Youth Bureau.
Chairman, moving resolution number 353.
Supervisor Hall, second. Fedler, Tall, Fisher, O'Brien. Discussion. Is that, I'm sorry, Brian, were you seconding?
Yes.
Supervisor Campbell, second. Discussion. Ditto. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 354 by Supervisors Fedler, Wilson, Hogan, Nolan, Baker, Hahn, title to accept piggybacking on Rockland County contract, public safety communications equipment.
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution number 354.
Moved by Supervisor Fedler, second. Hall, Fisher, Baker, O'Brien, Hahn. Discussion. I wish we could come up with a better word than piggybacking. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 355 by Supervisors Hall, Campbell, Fedler, Skelly, Wilson, Nolan, title to adopt staffing pattern for all Washington County departments.
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution number 355.
Moved by Supervisor Hall, second. Fedler, Hall, Fisher, O'Brien, and Campbell. Discussion. This involved a lot. Appreciate the work that went into this. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 356 by Supervisors Campbell, Fedler, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Rozell, Hall, Wilson, Fisher, Nolan, title to authorize chairman to sign a municipal park management agreement with the New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation for the operation of Lake Lauderdale Park.
Moving 356.
Moved by Supervisor Campbell, second. Fedler, Tall, Hall, Fisher, O'Brien, and Clary. Discussion. All those in favor? Oops, I'm sorry.
There's been issues, Mr. Chairman, over the building being taken care of down there. Was there anything in this this agreement that dealt with that issue? So we're not feuding anymore with the state over that?
We're going to continue feuding with the state over that.
Me?
As they know, we're going to continue feuding with the state over that.
There were a couple of motions during finance that I think raised those issues that directed the superintendent of buildings and grounds to address.
But nothing in this agreement.
There was an attempt, but this was the agreement that we got. There was no changes to the previous licensing agreements.
Okay.
Several of us have got some thoughts on that. Maybe we'll get together and work on that this summer.
How long is this agreement for? Okay. I don't think you need to.
I won't care next time to negotiate it.
The building will either be fixed, the building will either be fixed or fall down by then. So I mean, it's irrelevant. It's a,
I'm very disappointed. I retired from NCON. I thought I was going to take over the management of Lake Lauderdale Park and stay in there. Further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 357 by Supervisors Campbell, Fedler, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Rozell, Hall, Wilson, Fisher, Nolan, title to authorize chairman to sign morgue use and laboratory services agreement with Glens Falls Hospital.
Moving 357.
Moved by Supervisor Campbell, second. Fedler, Hall, Fisher, O'Brien, and Clary. Discussion. having been involved in a couple of operations just lately that didn't have a plan B, this is another one. We've got to come up with a plan B here sometime during the course of this coming year or so. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 358 by Supervisors Campbell, Fedler, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Rozell, Hall, Wilson, Fisher, Nolan. Title amend budget Sheriff for Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant.
Moving 358.
Moved by Supervisor Campbell, second. Fedler, Paul, Hall, Fisher, O'Brien, and Clary. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 359 by Supervisors Campbell, Fedler, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Rozell, Hall, Wilson, Fisher, Nolan. Title amend County Road Fund budget for CR 74 Bridge Project.
Moving 359.
Moved by Supervisor Campbell, second. Fedler, Hall, Fisher, O'Brien, and Clary. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 360 by Supervisors Campbell, Fedler, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Rozell, Hall, Wilson, Fisher, Nolan. Title amend budget information technology for real property project.
Moving resolution 360.
Moved by Supervisor Campbell, second. Fedler, Hall, Fisher, O'Brien, Clary. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 361 by Supervisors Campbell, Fedler, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Rozell, Hall, Wilson, Fisher, Nolan. Title amend the 2025 title by grade schedule, exempt salary schedule, and staffing pattern. District Attorney for Crime Victim Advocate.
Moving resolution number 361.
Moved by Supervisor Campbell, second. Fedler, Hall, Fisher, O'Brien. Discussion. This is another roll call.
Mr. Henke.
Yes.
Mrs. Fedler.
Yes.
Mr. Tall.
Yes.
Mr. Shaw.
Yes.
Mr. Hall.
Yes.
Mr. Fisher.
Yes.
Mr. Baker.
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
Mr. Hahn.
Yes.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
Mr. Skelly.
Yes.
Mr. Hogan. Mr. Wilson.
Yes.
Mrs. Clary.
Yes.
Mr. Wang.
Yes.
Mr. Rozell.
Yes.
Resolution is adopted, 4,291 yes, 399 absent. Resolution number 362 by Supervisors Campbell, Fedler, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Rozell, Hall, Wilson, Fisher, Nolan. Title to levy taxes required for purposes of annual budgets in the towns of Washington County.
Moving resolution number 362.
Moved by Supervisor Campbell, second. Fedler, Hall, Fisher, O'Brien, Clary. Discussion. This is a roll call.
Mr. Hanky,
Yes.
Mrs. Fedler,
Yes.
Mr. Tall,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Hall,
Yes.
Mr. Fisher,
Yes.
Mr. Baker,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien,
Yes.
Mr. Hahn,
Yes.
Mr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mr. Skelly,
Yes.
Mr. Hogan, Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mrs. Clary,
Yes.
Mr. Wang,
Yes.
Mr. Rozell.
Yes.
Resolution adopted, 4,291 yes, 399 absent. Resolution number 363 by Supervisors Campbell, Fedler, Skelly, Hogan, Clary, Rozell, Hall, Wilson, Fisher, Nolan. Title authorize out-of-state travel, information technology, treasurer, and county administration.
Moving resolution 363.
Moved by Supervisor Campbell, second. Fedler, Hall, Fisher, O'Brien, and Clary. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 364 by Supervisors Campbell, Fedler, Skelly, Clary, Rozell, Hall, Wilson, Fisher, Nolan. Title to award bid 2024-34 Burgoyne Campus Project for electrical construction contract.
Moving resolution 364.
Moved by Supervisor Campbell, second. Fedler, Hall, Fisher, and Clary. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 365 by Supervisors Campbell, Fedler, Skelly, Clary, Rozell, Hall, Wilson, Fisher, Nolan. Title to award bid 2024-35 Burgoyne Campus Project for Plumbing Construction Contract.
Moving number 365.
Moved by Supervisor Campbell, second. Fedler, Dahl, Hall, Fisher, O'Brien, Larry. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 366 by Supervisors Campbell, Fedler, Skelly, Clary, Roselle, Hall, Wilson, Fisher, Nolan, title to award bid 2024-36 Burgoyne Campus Project for mechanical construction contract.
Moving resolution number 366.
By Supervisor Campbell, second. Fedler, Dahl, Hall, Fisher, O'Brien, and Clary. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 367 by Supervisors Campbell, Fedler, Skelly, Clary, Roselle, Hall, Wilson, Fisher, Nolan, title to award bid 2024-37 Burgoyne Campus Project for site construction contract.
Moving resolution number 367.
Moved by Supervisor Campbell, second. Fedler, Dahl, Hall, Fisher, O'Brien, and Clary. Discussion. We've gone through several $million very quickly. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 368 by Supervisor Hanky, title to appoint member to the Lake Champlain, Lake George Regional Planning Board.
Moving 368, second. Fedler, Hall, Fisher, O'Brien, Hahn, Campbell, Wilson, Clary, and Wang. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 369 by Supervisor Hanky, title to reappoint members to the Washington County Community Services Board.
369, second. Fedler, Dahl, Hall, Fisher, O'Brien, Hahn, Campbell, Clary. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 370 by Supervisors Campbell, Fedler, Skelly, Clary, Roselle, Hall, Wilson, Fisher, Nolan, title to ratify agreement between Washington County and Correction Officers Association for years 2025 through 2028.
Moving resolution number 370.
By Supervisor Campbell, second. Fedler, Hall, Hall, Fisher, O'Brien, Hahn, and Clary. You know, Dan Shaw. Hall, Fisher.
Yeah, you realize you'd say Tall Shaw Hall, and I don't know if that's any better.
Probably not. Any discussion? Just a roll call.
Mr. Hanky?
Yes.
Mrs. Fedler?
Yes.
Mr. Tall?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Hahn?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
Mr. Skelly?
Yes.
Mr. Hogan? Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Clary? Mr. Wang? Mr. Roselle? The resolution is adopted, 4,291 yes, 399 absent. Resolution number 371 by Supervisor Hall, title to rescind resolution number 338 of 2024, appointing Republican Election Commissioner.
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution number 371.
Moved by Supervisor Hall, second. Fedler, Tall, Shaw. Brand, Hahn, Campbell, Wilson. Discussion. Mr. Hall.
Mr. Chairman, on behalf of the Washington County Republican Committee, I respectively withdraw the nomination certificate of Melissa Chester dated November 7th, 2024. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 372 by Supervisor Campbell, title amend budget, capital project number 113, Homeland Security Grants for FY 2024 award.
Moving resolution number 372.
Supervisor Campbell, second. Fedler, Hall, Fisher, Hahn, and Wilson. I was doing good at the beginning.
Switch, because I'd like to be tall Fedler one.
Kind of like having the long and short of it.
All right, I've completely lost control. Let's move on here. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 373 by Supervisors Hall, Shaw, Skelly, Hogan, title to appoint election commissioner Republican.
Chairman, moving resolution number 376.
Supervisor Hall, second.
373, I'm sorry. I can't remember right on my glasses.
Supervisor Hall, second. Begler, Shaw, Fisher, O'Brien, Campbell, Wilson. Discussion. Mr. Campbell. What's in 376?
Oh, well. I apologize to my fellow members that I screwed up. We're good.
Further discussion. All those in favor? Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm just having a really hard time with this because every committee that we go in talk about Great Meadows and the impact it's going to have on our budget. We don't our budget. And so if you look at the Board of Elections financials, Boat Road, because potentially we're going to have 3 more elections this year. It's a fine-tuned budget that we didn't expect that. So I'm hoping, and I'm sure that the new get budget training and look about how that's going to work. I'd say thank you to Tom for the hard work he's done for the county for many personal friend and neighbor. Sorry that he's leaving. So with that being said, I understand this is a Republican commissioner and I'm a Democrat. So this time I will vote yes, even though it's just killing me. So.
Else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, that long last brings us through the resolutions. Any supervisors' comments?
Two. One is a light one, and the other one may be a little heavier. Mentioned Bruce Ferguson, who had passed away from Salem. And Bruce will always stick in my mind because when I first got elected in 1999 and came up here, I was very similar or identical to the way I am now, immediately. And I would speak up at meetings, committee meetings. And finally, Bruce turned to me one day and he said, Dan, you new supervisors are supposed to be seen and not heard. And I didn't have a comeback line to that. So I quietly smiled and said, okay, thank you. But I'll always remember Bruce for saying that. And him and I worked well together afterwards, but I didn't quiet down either.
Our new supervisors don't seem to have that ability either. So.
That was my second. It's not quite so light. And this is more of a question for Dan. In light of listening to our employees today over this matter, this came out of personnel, this issue or controversy, and I don't want to get into it, details. But is there a way? It was a vote of 4-2. Even the budget officer voted no with me. Of course, I voted no on it for different issues, but I'm concerned that something that major isn't voted on by the full board rather than 4 people make this change. And it was a drastic change. So is there any way or is there what should we do to correct this? I look at it as a problem, so I'm going to say to correct this problem. Other people might not look at it as a problem. But if you wanted to make a change on this issue, how would you do it?
Certain policy changes, as you're aware, Mr. Supervisor, can be done at the committee level. And this would have been one of them. There is no a motion in committee from having it referred to the full board. So I guess should an issue like this come up and you're not satisfied with it
You could
level,
ask,
you can always make a motion in committee to have it referred to the full board.
okay, thank you.
Folks as well.
Board can always override a committee decision.
I just wanted to speak on Bruce Ferguson, from the town of Salem, and knowing Bruce since was actually my Sunday school teacher. And so I've had a long history with Bruce, and I laugh at Dan's remark because going through Sunday school teacher to town supervisor and him calling and having me come in to help the town clerk for specific things that I won't go into. And then actually running against him as a person for a town supervisor. Wasn't really happy about it. He did get used to, and I did get used to the fact that every time I went back to my office, he was sitting there. It was town hall. We just needed a wood stove in our town office because Bruce usually was there. Sometimes happy to see me, and sometimes he would barrel out the front door. But he was always Bruce. His personality was always the same, and he gave great service to the town of Salem and also to the county. He really, that was his passion. We will miss him. I'll miss both sides, the good and the craziness that sometimes you could do. But that's what we all are. We're all human. We all do the best we can. And Bruce always did the best he could.
On Bruce again, Bruce was a member of the IDA for some 20, 25 years. And it was mainly through his effort and his abilities to get things done that Phase 2 Industrial Park was built. And there's still some lots available down there, but he did a lot of work. There's a road named after him, Ferguson Lane. But if you go back and look at the documents, some of the document minutes that were in there, and he did a tremendous amount of work. And, you know, that sort of but that led to several $100,000, $1 million worth of assessments and more important jobs in Washington County. So good for him. We should be.
Yes, Chairman, I would just like to apologize to Stacy Baker for taking a resolution that didn't exist and putting you with it. I apologize for that. But maybe you could just stand so some of the supervisors could recognize you personally. I know that some of them there, some of them weren't. So thank you.
Campbell.
Just Mr. Ferguson's comment to Dan. I hope nobody takes that as reality here. I don't care if you just arrived on day one. I hope that we would consider anything that anyone brings to our board meeting. I always appreciate a new face and a new perspective on things. So feels that because you're new, you can't speak. I think it's very important that we different perspectives, because as the world evolves, we need to evolve too. Values, but we do have to keep up with the way things are happening around us.
Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Three things. First of all, just so everybody realizes that's listening today, we got a pretty packed audience. All the jousting is done in committee. So if you want to see some spirited conversation, please listen into the committees. Come on up to the committee room. Here, you know, we put our knives away and we get to the business of the second thing. Merry Christmas to everybody. I hope that the holiday period is wonderful and you are blessed with your families and time to relax. And the last thing, Mr. Chairman, I have to nominate Supervisor Fedler as the most spiritedly dressed person in the room today.
All right, now we clap again. We aren't done with that facet yet. You just hold on.
make a motion, but I know we set aside the rules.
First, let me address one other order of business here. I gave you all your Christmas gift, your honey there. And I know some of you are noticing that some of them have different labels on the top and some of them have different colored ribbons. Even some of the honey is different colored. Every one of those characteristics is incredibly significant about the way I think about you, but I'm not going to tell you what it means. Just as you get comparing each other, I just want you to be able to figure that out for yourselves. Secondly, to address this Christmas spirit thing, what we have typically have done for some of you who are new is the past couple of years, I have, issued a decree about who had the greatest Christmas spirit and indicated by mode of dress. However, this year I wanted to point out that I'm pretty much in this. I've got a very nice vest matching tie with a Windsor knot, a European tri-point pocket square. I think I'm right up there. What I would like to do is have Ms. Fedler, our highway superintendent, our treasurer, and Mr. O'Brien all come up to the front here. Come on, come on, go up front.
He still wins.
Where's Debbie Donahue?
Now, we've got some differences this year. She won last year because of her earrings. This year, she's got things on her head.
Don't forget the shoes. Don't forget the shoes.
These two. These two are lighting up.
I think we need a vote.
I think it's a roll call vote.
Uh-oh.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. All right.
You got more to run your mouth.
You know it 3 times, say no.
How about, well, let's start going again. How about the start wearing splendor?
You got one. All right. What's your-
Mine is retired.
I love it.
Point.
Don't forget to share.
Unfortunately, the results are in. It's
Cassie on a shelf.
Nobody puts baby on a shelf.
I guarantee you'll win.
Just found this.
By order of the chairman, Robert Hinkie, I declare this meeting adjourned and stand adjourned until the January 2nd at 2 p.m. when we have and hold our organizational meeting for the year 2025. Adjourned.
Thank you, Dan.